Okay, so um, I don't know what order the videos are in, or if they're all together. I don't know how I'm gonna do that yet. I'm kind of taping then untaping. So, anyways, um, yeah, I was suicidal when I was 19, 20, maybe even a little bit when I was 18, but um, and I haven't been for over 20 years. I'm 40 years old now, so it's been a long time since I was, but I probably went through a solid 10 years of like deep depression after that, and anxiety, and still deal with anxiety, and I don't know about depression anymore. Like maybe a little bit here and there, but not. I don't know. I don't really think so. Not much, if any. But it used to be constant. It used to be. It was always there, and it was that way for years and years and years. It sucks, but so I was suicidal for a period of time, and then I got past that. But I've also had a couple other experiences since then with suicide, and those are that two of my best friends from high school committed suicide. One, and they were a couple years from each other, but I think they were in their mid-20s, and it was very hard and confusing. Obviously, they didn't know that I was suicidal. They never knew that I went through that. They may have known that I was depressed or whatever, or that something was up, but they never knew. I don't think anybody did actually, but yeah. So Jason did it first, and it was really hard because he had seemingly had his shit together. I mean, he had graduated from University of Michigan, had a degree, was working in Philadelphia, and after he had started working in Philadelphia, we didn't communicate too much, and he was never the kind of guy that would call you, even though we would hang out. But in high school, I would be the one that would call him and hang out, and he would call it occasionally, but it was much more from our requests, I guess. And when he went to college, we would hang out, and it was kind of the same situation. But so afterwards, when he was in Philadelphia and I was still in Michigan, it was we communicated. We just didn't talk. I don't talk on the phone with anybody, so for me, it's not unusual to not talk to somebody for a long time, and it's like whatever. But but he did it, and I don't know why. And it's hard because I was suicidal, and he didn't know, and so I always kind of wonder if he had known, and if we had actually talked about it, would it have made a difference in the decision that he made. But it was difficult. Me and my friend Vishal, we went out to his funeral, which was in Arizona because his parents had moved there by then, and it was weird and confusing, hard. Just you think a lot about your role in it, and what you did, what you didn't do, and makes you think a lot. And then I did talk with with Vishal quite a bit about it then, and I still don't know if I told him that I was suicidal or anything like that, but but then a couple years later, he did it. He committed suicide. And once again, I don't know why. But that was, I don't know if I want to say that was even harder or more confusing or more shocking or what, but it was, maybe it was all those things, because it's, after Jason had did it, and Sean and I went to the funeral together and everything, it just seemed like he wouldn't have, it seemed like he would have known that you don't have to do that, or I think everybody kind of knows that you don't have to do it. But it seems like he would have just seen what, put people through, and that people would rather have you there. But I think any of us that are suicidal or have been suicidal know that that's not something that you think about, and that's one of the things that, like, over time I kind of came to the realization of was it's just not on the top of your mind. You're not. Most people aren't doing it for other people. They're doing it, because they just don't want to be there anymore. And certainly it may pop up in your mind that, oh, I'm doing other people a favor because I'm no longer a burden on them, and they no longer have to be ashamed of me, or they have to deal with me, or whatever. But I think that's just kind of like a kind of like a side justification that we use. So it was tough. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about suicide, and not in not in the sense that I'm thinking about doing it. 20 years ago, yeah, but not since then. But since then, I've still thought about it a lot. Like, why do people do it? What's the difference between me who didn't didn't follow through on it, and somebody that does follow through on it? And how could it be prevented? How could we stop it? And are we partially responsible for it when somebody else does it that we're part of their lives? And I think for people that are close to somebody that commits suicide, it could be the feelings they feel can be just as difficult as the feelings that the person who's suicidal is feeling, just in a different way. I felt both of them, and the feelings and the thoughts about my two friends committing suicide, they're still with me 15 years later. Mine are gone 20 years. Once I moved on from that and got over it, not depression, all that kind of stuff aside, like but but I'm still dealing with the confusion and whatnot from theirs. And that lasts. I don't know if that'll ever go away, and I don't know if it ever should, because there's certain realities of living in this world that I think we always need to contemplate, be aware of, because they are the reality of living in this world. But you question, every you just go back and think, God, I was having dinner with him and his girlfriend, and he made this comment, or he seemed this way, and I kind of sensed something. Why didn't I do more? Why didn't I say more? And everybody in his life is thinking the same thing. So, it affects so many more people. Ultimately. So that's kind of a little. I guess I don't know, maybe giving my credentials or something like that for this. Like, I've had 2 really close friends do it, and I, was considering doing it, or almost did it, or I don't know how, you want to word it, but it's tough.